Tesla once stood at the pinnacle of electric vehicle innovation. For over a decade, it felt as though Elon Musk and his team were scripting an entirely new chapter in automotive history, making the transition to electric mobility look glamorous, futuristic, and even a bit rebellious. Whether you were a tech enthusiast tracking every battery update or a casual viewer marveling at Tesla's self-driving technology, the brand carried an almost magnetic appeal that crossed borders and bridged demographics. Fast forward to the year 2025, and the mood has shifted dramatically. In just a few months, Tesla has found itself embroiled in political standoffs, hammered by trade disputes, and besieged by angry consumers in multiple continents. Share prices that once soared to astronomical heights have plummeted by more than half, wiping out hundreds of billions in market value. Europe, once a faithful ally in the EV revolution, has turned cold. Asia, which many assumed would forever remain a Tesla stronghold, seems equally disillusioned. For years, the European market was a Tesla goldmine. In countries like Norway, Germany, and the Netherlands, Model S and Model 3 sightings were as common as any local brand. Europe's appetite for eco-friendly tech and sleek design made Tesla an instant hit, and Elon Musk's larger-than-life persona added a certain mystique that many Europeans found refreshing, even thrilling. From 2018 through the early 2020s, every new Tesla model arrived to applause and record-breaking pre-order numbers. That applause, however, faded at the start of 2025. By March, industry data revealed that Tesla sales in the European Union had declined by a jaw-dropping 70% year over year. The scale of that collapse, over just 3 months, took nearly everyone by surprise. Consumers who were once proud to display their shiny Tesla on social media now expressed regret over the brand's political entanglements. Formerly supportive EV advocates who used to tout Tesla as the future began championing local European automakers that offered electric alternatives with fewer controversies attached. The reasons behind Europe's cold shoulder were complex, but can be boiled down to 3 main catalysts. First, rising prices. A new wave of tariffs, instigated by renewed tensions between the United States and foreign powers, effectively increased the cost of importing Tesla vehicles and critical components. Many drivers felt that Tesla no longer delivered the best value, especially when European-based competitors like Volkswagen or Renault offered more affordable solutions that still felt refined and reliable. Second, the brand image nosedive. The charm that once surrounded Elon Musk seemed to crack when he publicly supported certain U.S. policies viewed in Europe as hostile and isolationist. Musk's own words, especially those describing some European leaders as bureaucratic parasites, quickly spread across media outlets, inflaming public opinion. While some fans defended Musk's right to speak his mind, a sizable portion of Europe's population took offense. In a region proud of its manufacturing heritage, hearing an American CEO belittle European regulations and leadership didn't just turn off customers, it motivated them to look elsewhere. Third, local competition wasn't just playing catch-up anymore. European automakers recognized an opportunity to grab a bigger slice of their own market. They poured resources into EV technology, ramped up production, and launched marketing campaigns explicitly targeting ex-Tesla buyers. Brands like Volkswagen, once viewed as playing second fiddle in EV tech, began touting advanced battery systems, respectable range, and more driver-friendly service networks. The combined effect was a mass exodus from Tesla dealerships to homegrown alternatives. Surveys capturing the sentiment of former Tesla fans in Germany or France depicted a common theme. Once the cool factor evaporates, practical considerations like price, reliability, and brand trust take precedence. And by early 2025, the once high cool factor associated with Tesla had been weighed down by too many political and social controversies. Europeans no longer saw Tesla as a rebellious breath of fresh air. They saw it as a brand wrapped up in conflicts that undermined the stable, forward-thinking image they originally admired. From the very beginning, Tesla's identity was never just about manufacturing cars. It was about storytelling, positioning the brand as a technological disruptor, a cleaner alternative to gas-guzzling competitors, and a symbol of modern progress. early adopters felt like pioneers. Celebrity endorsements and social media fandom turned the Tesla logo into a status symbol as coveted as any luxury brand. Underpinning that was Elon Musk, an entrepreneur whose ambitions seemed boundless. From reusable rockets to tunneling projects, he radiated an aura of fearlessness. Media outlets labeled him the real-life Tony Stark, forging a cross between science fiction and reality. So how did that heroic persona unravel so abruptly in 2025? A big part of the answer lies in how a brand's narrative can spin out of control when it becomes too tied to one individual's public and political stance. Early on, Musk's contrarian comments seemed edgy. But once the global geopolitical atmosphere grew more volatile, those same contrarian statements left Tesla open to backlash on a massive scale. When an influential CEO publicly sides with contentious trade measures, it's not just an opinion. It becomes the entire company's stance. Soon, articles flooded the internet. Think pieces in financial publications lamented Musk's involvement in international disputes, while European and Asian tabloids portrayed him as an erratic figure undermining local economies. He wasn't merely disagreeing with a policy or two. To many foreign readers, he appeared to be belittling entire regions. That was a branding disaster. Once you lose the moral high ground, particularly in places like Europe, where consumer activism can be swift and decisive, it becomes exceedingly difficult to rebuild trust. Meanwhile, Tesla's communication strategy faltered. Attempts to reassure the public about production goals or price adjustments were overshadowed by Musk's personal commentary on social media. The brand's official channels tried to highlight new self-driving software or faster supercharger expansions, but negative headlines about tariffs or trade feuds drowned them out. Public perceptions formed quickly. Tesla was no longer the unassailable tech champion, but a divided entity, with one face promising revolutionary cars and the other mocking international critics. Consequently, marketing experts saw an unprecedented brand collapse. Companies can often survive a slip in product quality if their goodwill reservoir remains intact. But Tesla's meltdown was unique in that product reliability concerns converged with a maelstrom of political drama. The halcyon days of breathless positivity were replaced by cynicism. Consumers worried, am I supporting a brand that ridicules my government, my region's values, or my cultural identity? That's the kind of identity crisis no amount of software updates can readily fix. The year 2025 introduced a stark reality in U.S. foreign policy marked by heavy tariffs aimed at Europe, Canada, and Asia. These were not subtle adjustments, but sweeping measures that hiked duties on everything from car parts to raw materials. The White House believed this was the best path to protecting American manufacturing, a stance that divided both domestic and international opinion. Tesla, reliant on global supply chains to keep costs under control, found itself in an impossible position. For some time, Musk tried to portray the tariffs as a protective measure essential for American innovation. He made public statements praising the administration's approach, insisting that it would eventually strengthen domestic production. However, the actual impact proved far more punishing than beneficial for Tesla. Europe saw those tariffs as aggressive and retaliated swiftly. European Union officials, under pressure from local businesses and industries, enacted counter tariffs directly hitting American products. Tesla was caught squarely in that crossfire. Suddenly, the cost of importing battery cells from Asian factories or essential metals from Europe skyrocketed. The margin for Tesla's electric vehicles was already thin, one of the reasons Tesla had historically struggled to be consistently profitable, and the new duties squeezed those margins further. Simultaneously, domestic production wasn't a quick fix. While Musk had invested heavily in the United States with factories in places like Nevada and Texas, the shift away from overseas supply chains couldn't happen overnight. Tesla's entire infrastructure relied on quick, cost-effective global sourcing. Once that efficiency shattered under tariffs, Tesla either had to absorb massive cost increases or pass them along to consumers. Both options were bad. If Tesla swallowed the costs, profitability, which investors watched like hawks, would go from slim to non-existent. If Tesla raised prices, it would lose the competitive edge it enjoyed in the EV market. Public outrage rose as news circulated that the final price of many Tesla models had jumped, or that certain deliveries were delayed due to component shortages. People who had placed orders months earlier grumbled about unexpected hikes. European buyers in particular felt singled out, interpreting Tesla's predicament as a byproduct of the US government's policies. Why pay more for a car whose CEO cheers for tariffs that harm our economy? They asked. That question echoed loudly online, transforming from a personal gripe into a broader movement to shun Tesla altogether. And so the trade war served as an accelerant. It wasn't the sole reason Tesla was in trouble, but it magnified every existing vulnerability. Any older concerns about Tesla's service or quality were overshadowed by an even graver complaint: a multi-continent fury fueled by tariffs and political friction. The end result? Tesla's carefully managed global supply chain, once a marvel of modern business, morphed into a tangled mess of extra costs, shipping delays, and customer disillusionment. Despite heavy reliance on international markets, Tesla had always considered Asia a linchpin in its growth strategy. China, in particular, was the world's largest EV market and boasted an enormous appetite for innovative car technology. For years, Tesla had cultivated a strong presence, even building a gigafactory in Shanghai to tap into local manufacturing efficiencies. South Korea, meanwhile, offered advanced battery technology and a rising market for electric cars. It all seemed perfect until the trade war turned these same advantages into Tesla's worst headache. China's government, never one to back down from a tariff dispute, responded in kind with its own set of levies on American imports, especially vehicles and key components. Tesla's alignment with U.S. policy made it an obvious target. Chinese state media spun the narrative: an American company that symbolized foreign economic aggression. Suddenly, stories emerged about Tesla's data security vulnerabilities, and the public grew suspicious that Tesla's cameras and sensors might be gathering sensitive information. Whether these claims were accurate or not, the atmosphere of distrust was enough to push many Chinese consumers to consider domestic EV brands like BYD and NIO. At the same time, regulatory authorities in China introduced new rules that forced stricter environmental and labor audits. Tesla's Shanghai Gigafactory, once lauded for its speed of construction and efficiency, faced slowdowns. Managers scrambled to meet the evolving requirements, adding layers of cost and complexity. In a country where Tesla once reigned as an aspirational status symbol, showrooms started reporting a noticeable drop in foot traffic and inquiries. South Korea followed a similar playbook. While the Korean market is smaller than China's, it's technologically advanced and influential. Authorities raised tariffs on American vehicles and ramped up safety inspection protocols. These administrative measures might sound benign, but in practice, they meant more frequent paperwork and elongated timelines before any Tesla shipment could be cleared for sale. Local manufacturers used the moment to push their own EV models as more compatible and less caught in international politics. Consumers also noticed that local EV options from Hyundai and Kia were starting to rival Tesla in key metrics like range and charging speed. Throw in financial incentives from governments favoring domestic brands, and Tesla found itself at a disadvantage. Where the brand had once dazzled tech-savvy buyers with autopilot features and futuristic designs, it now carried the baggage of unstable trade ties and inflated sticker prices. By mid-2025, Tesla's momentum in Asia was sputtering badly. The once reliable revenue stream from these markets slowed to a trickle, compounding the financial turmoil that had already erupted in Europe. Even for those who stuck with Tesla, concerns arose about service availability, the cost of replacement parts, and whether trade tensions would spike again in the near future. If there was one place you'd think Tesla could count on unwavering support, it was the United States. After all, Tesla was an American success story, embodying Silicon Valley innovation and re-energizing an auto industry once thought to be rusting away. But by the spring of 2025, cracks in that once solid foundation became evident. It all came to a head with a press conference on March 25th. The U.S. Commerce Secretary delivered a stark warning about Tesla's stock being at significant risk, citing the brand's massive exposure to retaliatory tariffs, the ongoing meltdown in Europe, and Musk's incendiary social media presence. In one fell swoop, a top government official effectively labeled Tesla a ticking financial time bomb. That statement fueled a wave of panic on Wall Street, sending the stock spiraling down another notch. For many Americans, the official condemnation felt like a betrayal, given how Tesla had once been upheld as a paragon of the new American manufacturing sector. Yet the Commerce Secretary's remarks reflected a wider sentiment, that the company's fortunes were now so intertwined with mercurial politics and unpredictable trade alliances that relying on Tesla's success posed a risk to the broader economy. Beyond the corridors of power, public opinion also shifted. Whereas Tesla once evoked images of eco-conscious luxury and entrepreneurial daring, more and more average car buyers saw a brand lost in controversy. Newspapers ran stories detailing Tesla's repeated price changes, each one reflecting some new tariff or raw material bottleneck. In places like the Midwest, local dealers capitalized on Tesla's troubles by promoting "Buy American but from stable American brands," a not-so-subtle reference to the new unpredictability swirling around Musk's empire. Social media buzzed with debates. Some loyal fans defended Musk's right to speak freely, attributing the controversies to a media witch hunt. Others took a harsher stance, arguing that Musk was sacrificing the goodwill of an entire nation for the sake of political grandstanding. Influencers posted videos criticizing the brand's newly inflated prices or detailing subpar experiences at Tesla service centers. Gradually, the brand's once bulletproof reputation in the U.S. started to erode, leaving prospective buyers confused about whether purchasing a Tesla was still the forward-thinking choice or a gamble on a brand stuck in political crossfire. Meanwhile, worker sentiment at Tesla's U.S. plants deteriorated. Rumors of union drives grew louder, with employees citing concerns about job stability and unpredictable production schedules. Indeed, many line workers struggled to keep up with shifting demands, uncertain if supply chain disruptions might lead to last-minute schedule changes or even layoffs. It was a far cry from the early days of boundless optimism when employees felt they were changing the world one battery pack at a time. While external forces battered Tesla, political hostilities, tariff wars, consumer backlash, a quieter, more insidious threat emerged from within. The very workers and engineers who once championed the brand's mission of environmental progress found themselves questioning whether they still believed in the company's direction or even its ethics. At factories in Nevada and Texas, union organizers seized the opportunity created by widespread uncertainty. They highlighted a litany of worker complaints, unaddressed safety issues, forced overtime, stagnant wages despite ballooning living costs, and a corporate culture that some described as secretive to the point of paranoia. Until 2025, unionization efforts at Tesla had largely fizzled, thanks to a workforce often mesmerized by Musk's grand vision. But with morale plummeting, union ideas suddenly seemed attractive. Meanwhile, in Tesla's European gigafactory near Berlin, employees mounted protests and staged walkouts, citing not just wage disputes, but also a deep-seated belief that Musk's public antagonism toward European leaders had turned their workplace into a geopolitical lightning rod. Workers felt stuck in the middle, vilified by local media as part of an outsider's factory, while also pressured by Tesla's management to maintain high output despite supply interruptions. The result was a toxic environment. Managers who were already dealing with inventory shortfalls and unpredictable supply lines now had to manage a restless, aggrieved workforce. Engineers and product designers in Tesla's American offices also grew increasingly vocal. Internal Slack channels and email threads revealed mounting frustration. Brilliant minds who once thrived on pushing boundaries now felt overshadowed by the daily storms of negative PR. Some threatened to leave for rivals, swayed by better pay or more stable corporate cultures. Whistleblower accounts that trickled out painted a picture of a disjointed company lacking coherent strategy. Every decision overshadowed by the next big controversy or the latest late-night tweet from Musk. It would be a mistake to say everyone at Tesla hated their job. Plenty remained loyal, citing the importance of pushing electric vehicles forward in the global fight against climate change. Yet the sense of possibility that once fueled Tesla's rocket-like rise seemed subdued. It became harder to muster excitement about new software updates or production targets when the next tariff or press scandal could upend everything. HR departments struggled to handle the rising turnover, and recruiting top-tier talent became challenging when new hires asked pointed questions about Tesla's public controversies. Even new graduates who once dreamed of a Tesla job as the ultimate achievement weighed competing offers from traditional automakers that now promised more stable EV careers in Europe and Asia. Tesla's roller coaster relationship with Wall Street is legend. Early on, skeptics denounced it as a bubble waiting to burst, while devotees insisted it was the next trillion-dollar giant. Indeed, at its peak, Tesla achieved a market capitalization that dwarfed many older automakers combined. But the tidal wave of negative news in early 2025 tested even the most ardent believers. One after another, major investment houses started downgrading Tesla's stock. Citadel, Morgan Stanley, RBC, names that once lauded Tesla's innovation potential, began releasing sobering assessments. The core concerns were obvious. With Europe slamming doors and Asia escalating tariffs, could Tesla maintain the high growth rates that justified its earlier valuations? Analysts worried that Tesla's brand damage was not a short-term problem. If the brand's aura of inevitability was gone, then the entire foundation of Tesla's sky-high share price crumbled. Large hedge funds, which typically moved in a herd-like fashion, dumped massive blocks of Tesla shares. Their reasoning was straightforward. No matter how groundbreaking Tesla's technology might be, market reality showed a steep decline in global demand. And as the Commerce Secretary's warning underscored, even the U.S. government seemed uneasy about Tesla's volatility. When the powers that be start labeling a company as risky, institutional investors interpret that as time to exit. The resulting sell-off triggered a vicious cycle. As share prices tanked, smaller shareholders, many of whom were ordinary folks holding Tesla in their retirement accounts or personal portfolios, panicked and sold at a loss. Margin calls kicked in, forcing leveraged investors to liquidate. Company insiders who had once become millionaires on paper watched their net worth evaporate. Tensions flared on financial television as pundits debated whether Tesla could remain solvent if the slump persisted. Some likened the meltdown to the infamous dot-com bursts of the early 2000s, while others said Tesla was too big a brand to fail entirely. However, the abrupt erosion of capital made it nearly impossible for Tesla to fund new projects or expansions without incurring crippling interest rates. Potential lenders viewed Tesla as high risk, especially with Musk's unpredictability fueling concerns that new controversies might emerge at any moment. For a company that historically relied on the promise of future breakthroughs to justify current spending, losing Wall Street's trust spelled a deeper crisis than any single quarter's production shortfall ever could. One of the unspoken truths of modern industry is that competition never sleeps. As Tesla battled controversies and hemorrhaged market share, rival automakers in Europe and Asia seized the moment. Volkswagen ramped up its production of the ID series. Hyundai and Kia introduced next-generation EVs, boasting impressive range and affordable pricing. And Chinese brands like BYD, XPeng, and NEO expanded their presence into Europe. Even Ford and General Motors made bolder moves with their electric lineups, hoping to claim a chunk of the EV space Tesla had once dominated. In Europe, many customers who had purchased Teslas strictly for their green credentials found new domestic options just as eco-friendly, but without the accompanying political baggage. Volkswagen, having invested billions into EV infrastructure, positioned itself as the stable choice for drivers wanting advanced technology and local service without fear of unexpected price hikes. Renault and Peugeot launched marketing campaigns championing their European roots, subtly emphasizing that their cars carried none of the import drama linked to Tesla. Simultaneously in Asia, Chinese brands capitalized on national pride. Chinese government policies increasingly favored local EV manufacturers with direct subsidies and promotional incentives, something Tesla no longer enjoyed, given the strained US-China trade relationship. And it wasn't just about patriotism. The Chinese EV market is extremely tech-focused, and local brands introduced software features and add-ons that matched or even surpassed Tesla's capabilities. As these brands claimed more market share, they also attracted fresh investment. Funds that divested from Tesla searched for the next big EV success story, investing heavily in up-and-coming manufacturers. Innovations in battery tech, once Tesla's wheelhouse, were now cropping up across multiple labs worldwide, many funded by capital that had fled Tesla's sinking stock. This redistribution of investment money began to level the playing field, giving new entrants a boost they might not have received had Tesla remained unchallenged. In effect, the entire EV industry rebalanced. No single company replaced Tesla as the undisputed champion, but the era of one brand overshadowing everyone else seemed to be over. Instead, a multipolar EV world emerged, with global alliances forming between traditional automakers, tech giants, and battery suppliers. Tesla, once the sun around which every EV conversation orbited, found itself as just one star in a growing constellation of electric mobility solutions. Even as morale sank and external pressures mounted, Tesla wasn't passively waiting for defeat. Internal task forces scrambled to propose solutions. Some senior executives argued for immediate peace talks with European policymakers, essentially requesting reduced tariffs in exchange for new job creation or technology sharing agreements. Another faction within the company pushed for accelerating domestic production to eliminate reliance on foreign supply chains, even if that meant massive capital expenditure and short-term losses. Elon Musk himself appeared divided. On certain days, he'd tweet about forging new partnerships with overseas battery suppliers, fueling speculation that Tesla was about to pivot away from the precarious arrangement with Chinese and Korean partners. On other days, he'd double down on his combative stance, criticizing European red tape or praising the America First policies that started the entire tariff nightmare in the first place. This back-and-forth approach sent mixed signals to employees, investors, and potential allies. Financially, Tesla began exploring emergency measures such as issuing new shares to raise capital, an unpopular move given how much the stock had already crashed. Another approach involved trimming certain product lines, focusing only on the most profitable models like the Model Y, while delaying the launch of future concepts. Rumors surfaced that the long-promised Cybertruck would either face significant delays or require a full redesign to cut costs. While these decisions might help Tesla's bottom line in the short term, they risked alienating fans who had clung to the excitement of upcoming innovations. Externally, Tesla's newly appointed PR and policy teams worked overtime, attempting to restore goodwill with key stakeholders around the globe. They organized closed-door meetings with European environmental agencies, hoping to demonstrate Tesla's commitment to sustainability despite the political headwinds. In Asia, they tried to highlight the job creation and tech transfer Tesla had already provided, though local officials seemed lukewarm to these overtures in the face of rising domestic competition. None of these strategies offered an immediate silver bullet. Each came with significant trade-offs, raising the question of whether Tesla's underlying problems were too vast and too deeply intertwined with global politics to solve via conventional corporate tactics. The brand's challenges had transcended typical business woes. This was now an international standoff, a public relations crisis, and a cultural shift in how people perceive Tesla as a symbol. From Berlin to Austin, from Paris to Palo Alto, disenchanted protesters gathered outside Tesla facilities, waving signs that ranged from furious to pleading. Slogans like, "Green shouldn't be political," or "Stop the Tesla tariff roller coaster," underscored the common sentiment. People still cared about electric vehicles and sustainable innovation, but they no longer saw Tesla as a trustworthy flag bearer for those values. In Germany, demonstrations swelled outside the Berlin Gigafactory, uniting environmental activists who once aligned themselves wholeheartedly with Tesla's clean energy promise, with labor unions furious about working conditions and uncertain job security. Many protesters pointed to Musk's public statements insulting European politicians, arguing that he and Tesla had disrespected the very market that had enabled them to thrive. Meanwhile, in the United States, smaller but still vocal crowds assembled near Tesla's flagship showrooms. At first, these gatherings focused on concerns over the brand's shifting prices and Musk's political rants. Over time, they evolved into a broader critique. Why should consumers spend premium dollars on a car whose company seems perpetually embroiled in drama? Those who still supported the brand found themselves outnumbered by critics who believed Tesla had lost its way. Social media amplified these events with viral videos of protesters challenging Tesla representatives or reading aloud scathing open letters to Musk. Once the tide of public opinion turned, it fueled a self-perpetuating cycle. New negative coverage led more people to reconsider their Tesla purchases, which then led to more disillusionment, which in turn reignited more demonstrations. Journalists on the ground interviewed individuals who had canceled their Tesla orders. Some were climate-conscious families disgusted by Musk's alignment with policies they viewed as isolating or harmful to international cooperation. Others were middle-class consumers who'd saved up for years to join the Tesla Club, only to see the brand's price tag lurch unpredictably due to import duties. A few were simply put off by the entire saga of corporate arrogance and never-ending controversies, wanting no part in it. Where Tesla once benefited from word-of-mouth enthusiasm, it now suffered from word-of-mouth disdain. And for a company built on brand magnetism as much as on technology, that shift represented the ultimate existential threat. In the end, the downfall of Tesla, if that's what we're witnessing, serves as a cautionary tale. Great brands can unravel at breathtaking speed when they lose the delicate balance between innovation, consumer trust, and respect for global realities. Elon Musk set out to revolutionize the automotive industry, and in many ways, he did. But as 2025 has proven, revolutions can turn on their leaders just as quickly as they can elevate them. Whether this is a final collapse or merely a transitional chapter, the significance remains. No empire is unassailable, no matter how visionary or rich in hype it may be. So here we stand at the crossroads of Tesla's future. Will it be a reinvention story or the end of the road for the company that once rewrote the rules of motoring? We wait, we watch, and we wonder. Which is something no one would have predicted just a few short years ago. If you've stuck around to this point, you know the tale is far from simple. Share your thoughts because this is a story that touches on politics, economics, technology, and human nature all at once. Do you think Tesla can bounce back with new technologies and a refreshed public image? Or has the brand done too much damage to overcome? Let us know in the comments below. The conversation might just be as important as the story itself, and you could be part of shaping the next chapter in this remarkable saga.